Hello everyone, we are here today to talk about traditional or modern witchcraft, right? Which spells are the best? So there are thousands of spells in circulation today, as we know. Some are tried and tested, ancient rituals passed down through generations from one witch to another. Others have a more modern background. Years ago, witches relied on local healers and covens to obtain the information they required, or they had to source from their old battered spell books, right? Their books that they had all their spells wrote down in dusty bookshops, or from their own sources, to just learn some of the wisdom. We are very, very lucky though today that we can access the internet, and with the click of a mouse we can find the wealth of knowledge at our fingertips from all corners and cultures of the world, right? Reading lots of literature from all perspectives is a really good idea though. Whether you prefer to access traditional sources or you find yourself fancying modern day magic, both methods work equally well. You simply have to find what feels right and resonates a truth within yourself, right? Although there are many variations of traditional witchcraft in the world, the rules can be inflexible and spells are thought not to work unless they say certain preparations are followed exactly. To cast a successful spell using the traditional magic, an altar has to be used at all times, right? And must face a certain direction depending on the time of day or the season. The cardinal elements such as earth, air, fire, and water right, have to be present on your altar, and the tools and moon phases must all correspond with the spell at hand, right? So in the northern hemisphere, the element earth is associated with north, and air is with east, and fire with south, and water with west, right? In the southern hemisphere, though, air and water keep their directions, but earth is south and fire is north. So, for example, in the northern hemisphere, a bowl of salt, the sign of a pentagram, and a green candle would all be positioned north on your altar. Red candles and the anthem, a ceremonial dagger, and anointing oils would all be situated south. And water, a chalice, and a blue candle, or your blue candles, would be placed to face west, right? And incense, a bell, and a yellow candle would all face east. The correct god or goddess must be summoned in order to be successful, and hard to find herbs are the very ingredients needed for the spell to work. The list of potential materials for this is endless. We could go on and on, right? You will find an abundance of information online regarding the specifics of traditional spell casting, including the whys and hows of which objects are represented by which directions, right? Lots of practitioners today have a far more laid-back approach, as well as I do, right? In reality, modern Wiccans and pagans and all that have found that we don't need all these hard and fast rules and boundaries in place to cast the perfect spell, right? By no means are we not saying that the ancient ways are not right, or that you can't do it that way, or how they cast their magic. But the belief today is that a thought is a living thing that enables us to bring about our desires, right? Without most of the paraphernalia that has been traditionally suggested. It is true that there are tools we can use to enhance the magic, and a wonderful supply of flowers or crystals can give our spells more potency, but we can comfortably perform a spell or manifestation on the kitchen worktop instead of an altar. Or if we are in a busy environment, we can simply recite a rhyme or a positive intent to bring about a better effect, right? The bottom line is this. Lots of spellcasters today still love the old conventional methods. There is nothing wrong with feeling that you need a traditional ceremonial setting to work your magic, but for those who live in the fast lane, spellcasting on the fly works in a similar way and is just as effective as the traditional, right? So the consequences and personal gain of spellcasting. There are two different types of spellcasters, those who work with positive energy and those who work with negative energy. From a Wiccan point of view, there is one definite rule of thumb. What you send out, you get back threefold. So, given that most casters only perform a ritual with good intent, because we don't want the bad to come back at us, right? Because it comes back at us 3 times worse, right? So another way to think of this is that when you perform your ritual, the magical ball of energy you are sending out into the universe will at some point return to you, its creator. If your spell was for blessings and happiness for others, you will go on to receive them too in some way or another, right? But if it is to perpetrate pain or control another person, the unpleasant power you have conjured will swing back around and hit you straight in the face, like a punch in the face, okay? This in turn can cause a succession of bad luck, ill health, or even worse. This is called the bounce back effect, and it is very real, or the karmic effect, right? Another rule that a true Wiccan follows is not to perform magic to change a person's free will. You never mess with somebody's free will. This concept can cause a cloud of confusion, differentiating between what desire is for personal gain and what it is for the greater good needs to be considered properly before any magic is attempted. It is very tempting to change the behavior of someone who is causing you grief, but is it ethically correct, though, to do so, because you're messing with the free will, right? Let's say somebody is being very, very rude to you, they're being obnoxious, they're trolling you and all this, right? It is quite acceptable to spellcast for him to be more amenable. At the end of the day, if he is a calm and less obstinate, he is likely to be more content, right? If that is truly your intent, right, then you have the best interest of this person in mind, right? And this is an acceptable use of spellcasting. This can also be acceptable if you have a vicious bully or, a boss that you work with, right? You would be creating a happier environment for all concerned, as well as making your life just a little bit easier, right? And that's what we all want. So if you cause that person to be less combative or critical, because you are casting magic for the greater good, ethically speaking, is not crossing over any forbidden boundaries. There's always a possibility, though, that you may not know the full story about any given situation. So, right? Therefore, this kind of spellcasting should be approached with care and extra thoughtfulness. However, let's imagine now that you desperately want a promotion at work, and you know another colleague is better suited for it, right? By casting the spell in hopes of causing your boss to pick you and not your colleague, you would be meddling with your boss's free will and changing the outcome of something that may not have been meant for you in the first place, right? You would in turn change the destiny of the other person who was meant to have the promotion, and then your karma would be seriously affected. So rules are also in place with regards to affairs of the heart. Never cast a spell to win love of another person. That is messing with their free will. It is okay to cast a general spell for love. I mean, it's not to say that you can't cast a spell saying that you're looking for somebody in your life and that you want love in your life, right? But you can't specifically say that you want that specific person to be the love of your life, and you're putting a spell on that person. That is messing with their free will. So this allows the universe to speed up the development of affection in any person who would be spiritually intended for you. But specifically, a particular person would change the course of destiny and have a disastrous consequence. So, general advice here is to keep your thoughts grounded. Think very carefully before you begin a spell. And make sure you are not conjuring up your heart's desires for your own personal gratification. Defining personal gain is not easy, but with any kind of spell casting, you have to first ask yourself whether you want what you are conjuring or if you need it, right? For example, most people don't think they have enough money to live on. So one of the first spells they are likely to cast is one to win the lottery. But to say this type of spell falls into the personal gain category. You might want more money, but do you really need it? The answer to that is probably not. Right? Money spells are allowed, but usually if you cast spells for cash, you will only receive the exact amount you need for a specific bill, not a huge windfall. This means lottery or gambling spells hardly ever work. So, money magic does work brilliantly, though, when you need an extra few $100s to pay an unexpected bill, or you want to start a new project but have no means to fund it. But if you want to win the jackpot of all jackpots, right, or bet on a winning ticket or anything like that, you will be sadly disappointed in that, right? So, you also have to consider fate and destiny in this. Most Wiccans believe that things in our lives happen for a reason. So if you are meant to follow a certain path in life, and if it is your destiny to do a certain thing, then to that, no amount of spellcasting is ever going to change that. Right? So, an example of that might be to determine to find a new employment, or to start your own business, or a specific kind of business that you want to start, but really you were called for something else, right? These are just some examples. So you cast a specific spell for the job of your dreams, right? If your spell doesn't work and you don't get that job, it is highly likely that you were never meant to have it in the first place. It is when we look back over a time that we realize the things that we desired would have led us down a different path, and we wouldn't be where we are today. So with spell casting, you have to keep an open mind and accept that you can't always conjure exactly what you're asking for. Yes, you can make things happen. And yes, you can change your life in some small ways. But when certain things don't transpire, it's either because you didn't have the right intent and belief that the spell would work, or it was never meant to be in the first place. As above, so below, as within, so without. May the gods, goddesses, and spirits bless you on any journey that you take within your life, and may it be one that is prosperous and abundant. With that said, I will see you on the tomorrow going over some garden magic maybe, or getting into the 366 days of magic, which will also be parts of that inside my membership site, where you will find all kinds of stuff in there about chakras, you know, manifesting, all kinds of goodies in there, getting aligned and all that. So I will see you tomorrow. I love you guys. Have a blessed day.